Freedom of speech isn't entirely healthy these days. I think about it a lot. I worry about it a lot, and I think all of you know, or most of you know, that we had a little back and forth in our community about freedom of speech just last week when we hosted Corey Lewandowski, Donald Trump's first campaign manager. Lewandowski had run the campaign from the get-go until he was let go. I didn't plan that. That was my good. But until he was let go, about a couple of months, 2-3 months before the Republican convention here in Cleveland. And he had a philosophy: let Trump be Trump. And it was somewhat of an ad hoc approach to campaign management, but it served him well, and with a rather unprecedented victory, not only of the Republican primary, of course, but also for the general election as well. But freedom of speech, and so when we invited, or had the opportunity, I should say, to bring in Corey Lewandowski, it was made possible by Congressman Renacci, who has probably spoken to this Rotary at some point, I would assume. If he hasn't, he should. He's a good speaker. He's spoken to the City Club a few times, and we're hoping to get him back sometime before the end of the calendar year. But it came about through Congressman Renacci's office, or his campaign rather, because they were bringing him in for a campaign fundraiser. And that's how a lot of City Club stuff works ultimately, is because somebody knows somebody who can get the speaker that you want, or the speaker who's interesting, or the speaker who will be a draw. And so when we announced it, once we kind of confirmed it, I suggested that we announce it at the forum. It was Friday, and we let people know. And not surprisingly, there was a response from the crowd. Lewandowski was charged at one point. Charges were dropped, but he was charged with assaulting a reporter. He's a very unconventional campaign manager, a very unconventional political operative, and not widely admired by those on the left. And so when we announced, there were the groans, there was the "oh no," and then there was the social media pushback. We got pushback on Twitter that I wouldn't quote here because it was profane. But that was just a small portion of it. There was a lot of pushback that just said, "Why would the City Club invite this guy? This is beneath the dignity of the forum," and so forth. So, for me, thinking about that, it wasn't hard to understand that, in fact, it was the exact right thing for us to do. That no matter what Corey Lewandowski may have said, or might say in the future, or might say at our forum, he is the man who made Trump's candidacy possible. He is a man who is shaping the president's administration in some ways. He is a man whose views, when he is on national media outlets, CNN, Fox News, MSNBC, and others, he's shaping the views of millions of people. This is a man we should listen to. And this is what the City Club is for. One of the things that we do is provide a venue for everybody in the community to hear from the people who are shaping the conversation that we're having nationally. And so I didn't have any doubts at all, but I was surprised by the pushback that we got. I wasn't surprised that we got some pushback. I was surprised at how vigorous it became and how vocal certain people were. And as I realized that there was something going on, I said, well, we should articulate our point of view in the pages of the Plain Dealer because that's what the Plain Dealer's for, right? When there's a controversy. So I offer an op-ed. I work with the board to craft an op-ed. We offer it to Cleveland.com and the Plain Dealer. They take it. They publish it really quickly too. I've done that before, and it's been like round after round of editing with Betsy Sullivan. And this time it was up before I knew it. We were in the middle of a board meeting. And then one of my board members said, "Oh, it's online." I was like, "Oh, okay. I hope everybody likes it." I was sure there was going to be more. And then Jim's brother Mike invited us onto The Sound of Ideas to discuss it, which was great. And then I was accused by C Magazine of orchestrating a publicity tour, which was wonderful too. And I was also accused of having of trying to make use this for PR purposes, and to which I responded, "That's actually my job." So yes, guilty as charged. What came out of all of that, though, was this clear articulation that what we do at the City Club is about providing, we have this commitment to freedom of speech. Now, we are not, there was this pushback on the radio, and I don't know how many of you heard that episode of Sound of Ideas. I thought Mike did a masterful job hosting, by the way. I mean, that guy, he is
the best.
The best, second to you. But anyway, it was a nightmare for me because I was arguing in public in front of thousands and thousands of people on the radio against two trained litigators. And the only thing worse than that would be doing the same against two law professors. But this thing kept coming up, you know, like, well, you're a private institution, they said, so you're not bound by a commitment to freedom of speech. You're not bound by the First Amendment. You're just a private institution. You guys get to decide. And I was having trouble with that, and I was having trouble kind of articulating what it is that we do. And afterwards, a few days later, a local attorney approached me at a City Club event. He said, listen, I'm a City Club member. I was listening to the radio the other day, and I need to tell you something. I was so mad at those two lawyers for telling you what you ought to think about the First Amendment. I was like, oh, thanks. And that really helped me understand, too, kind of what it is that we do and why we do it, and that it's not, that the legal profession is not monolithic at all in their point of view on the First Amendment. And it also reminded me that we get to decide how we feel about the First Amendment. We get to decide as an institution and as members of the City Club, some of you are here right now too, we get to decide how we grapple with the First Amendment and what the First Amendment means to us.